Hello, everyone starting to join. We're gonna give it a minute or two to let everybody get in, but thank you so much for joining. Okay, great. We're gonna let people just sort of trickle in, but we're officially going to kick off our Getting Started with Uqora webinar. Just quickly to introduce myself, my name is Kate and I work here on the Uqora team, and I'm going to be joining today's discussion really just to help moderate the conversation. We received so many great questions from everyone, ranging from how to take the products, product function, specific scenario situations that you might be finding yourselves in. So we have plenty to go over today. So with that in mind, we'll probably fulfill the full time just with all of the questions that were submitted. But if you do have a question that pops up as we're going through things and discussing, feel free to put it in the chat and we will get back to you later this week via email. But for today's live session, we're mainly just gonna be going over all of the great questions that were already submitted, because there was plenty to go through just with that. So without further ado, I'm gonna pass it to Zoe and Spencer just to quickly introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about their role at Uqora, and then we'll get right into it.
Zoe?
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. My name is Zoe. I am the head of the Uqora customer support department. So every email, every text, every communication that you've got is coming straight from a human here at Uqora. I'm actually sitting in our wonderful customer support room. So typically we've got all of our agents in here. And so I head that department, help to make sure that you guys are getting the best support and everything that you need as customers. And I'm so excited to be here with you guys today.
All right. And I'm Spencer, along with Jenna, founded Uqora. And I work on our product development here at Uqora, as well as operations and finance and supply chain. But my core focus and passion is on product development, kind of the science behind Uqora's products and urinary health. So happy to be here to answer your questions. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Awesome. Great. Well, with all of that said, I think the first part of this session, we're going to have Zoe just sort of walk us through our 3 core proactive products and just sort of the straight directions on how to take them to be the most successful.
Yeah, so I've got my handy dandy products right next to me, actually. So the first product we're going to start with is Target, and Target is going to be our pink lemonade drink mix. It's really, really easy to take. You're actually just going to mix it in with about 8 ounces of water. I've got a cup right here so I can show you how I personally like mixing mine. I recommend taking Target directly after sex, because that's going to leave you in a more vulnerable state. We also recommend taking it every 3 days, because that's going to help more regularly flush out the urinary tract. So what I usually recommend is grabbing your stick pack, going ahead and just tearing the top off right there. You're going to go ahead and grab a glass. I like to pour mine directly into the glass. It helps to mix it a little bit better for me. And then I'm just going to go ahead and mix in my water. I personally like mine a little bit more concentrated with a little less water. But you can drink about 8 to 12 ounces. That's typically what's best. And then drink that right away. It's got this cute little pink lemonade, bright pink coloring to it. And then next is going to be our control capsules. So control is going to be taken really whenever you feel like you can remember to take your product. So if you have another medication that you typically take, or other vitamins that you take either in the morning or at night, whatever works best for your regimen is actually what's best for the product. So as long as you take them consistently, that's what's best. Control is going to be the more clear bottle, and we recommend taking 2 capsules of these per day. And then last, we've got our Promote probiotic. So the probiotic is going to be the white bottle here. This one is just going to be 1 capsule per day. So you can take all 3 capsules together. I actually keep mine right on my kitchen sink so that I remember to take it, usually with my coffee in the morning. That's what works best for me. I know so many people set alarms for theirs, and that's what works best for them, but all three at the same time, and that's what's gonna be best for the regimen to work for consistency's sake.
Perfect. Thank you for those amazing instructions on how to take the products. So sort of secondary to that, now we know sort of, how to take them properly. We received a lot of questions, really just curious about how these products work. So that's why we have Spencer here as he heads up product development. So I think I will pass it to Spencer from here just to kind of give a brief snapshot on each product of the functionality and why they work the way that they do.
Sure, thank you. So I'll start with the drink mix product, just like Zoe did, which is Target. And Target contains a number of active ingredients, one of which is called D-mannose, which actually binds to microorganisms in the urine such that they can't bind onto the wall of the bladder. And that allows us during urination to flush those microorganisms out. It also alkalizes the urine, which makes it less acidic. There's a number of reasons for doing this, but it also increases the effectiveness of the D-mannose. It has other sort of soothing benefits and takes the urine into a pH range that is better for general urinary health. It also contains ingredients that generally support the immune system. So vitamin C, for example, is effective in boosting immune response to help support a healthy bladder and a healthy urinary tract. The next product, which is Control, which is designed to be taken daily, is made to cleanse biofilm. And biofilm is a collection of microorganisms that attaches to any kind of surface. In this instance, we're concerned about the urinary tract and in the bladder. But biofilm is also the same thing that causes dental plaque, for example. So biofilms are common throughout both the human body and just in the environment. So for Control, it contains the green tea extract, which contains polyphenols called catechins, which make it difficult for those biofilms to get formed. And it contains curcumin, which also helps reduce the existing biofilm that might be there already. Finally, it does contain D-mannose to help bind onto those microorganisms that might be being released from the biofilm and help flush them out. And then our third product, which is Promote, is our vaginal probiotic. So Promote helps restore good bacterial populations to the vagina, which is very, very important. The vaginal microbiome is in constant relationship to the urinary microbiome and the mouth of the urethra. And in order for urinary health to be fully addressed, the vaginal microbiome and healthy bacterial populations and a proper pH need to be addressed as well. So that contains 3 types of lactobacilli, which are strains of good bacteria that normally dominate a healthy vaginal microbiome. Back to you, Kate.
Great. Yeah, so I think that obviously was, a lot of information, great information. We do have on our website an ingredients page, which outlines a lot of those key ingredients that Spencer just went through. So if you ever want to go back and double click on anything, we have all that information on our website if you want to look into anything further there. But now that we sort of have a little bit more grounding in the products themselves, now we're going to sort of move the conversation into the Q&A format. This is the fun part where we're going to go through all of the great questions that were submitted by you. And they definitely range from the products themselves to just general urinary health questions. So we're just going to get right into it with the first question. So the first one I'm going to pose to Zoe. We did get a few people asking this, but can you take Uqora while you're on antibiotics?
That's a really great question. So none of the ingredients really have any interactions with any common antibiotics. So you're more than welcome to get started on Uqora right as soon as you get it. That's also going to help with consistency. As soon as you get it, getting started with it right away, it's going to be really beneficial just to make sure that you're staying consistent, reminding yourself to take those products, as well as the Target drink mix. It's going to be really helpful to just continuously and always be flushing out the urinary tract. So we do recommend taking it as soon as you get it, even if you are on antibiotics.
Perfect. Okay, so the next question is for Spencer. How long does it take for Uqora to start working?
Yeah, that's a great question. Uqora starts working from day one. So the active ingredients start having their beneficial effects, but it's important to remember that, you know, when we get started is when we're most vulnerable, and it takes time to bring urinary tract health up into an optimal state. So the longer that state goes on without interruption, the better, and the less vulnerable the urinary tract is. So for some folks that might be between 2 and 3 months until you're getting into this more optimal urinary tract health range. But that of course varies from person to person. So it takes effect on day one, but does take time to reach maximum benefits.
Great. Makes sense. And again, I think if you are wondering how it's going for you, or if you have questions along the way, that's obviously where Zoe comes in. You can always reach out to her for a check-in, and our team is always happy to help. Great. So then from there, actually, we just had a live question come in that was our next question. So for Zoe, the group is wondering, how much Target should I drink?
Another really great question. Target can be taken daily if that's something you would like to bring into your routine. Target's really just going to help flush the urinary tract. So whenever you feel like you need a little bit more support, or when you're in a little bit more of a vulnerable place, taking Target's going to be really helpful in those places. So especially after sex, doing it a little bit more daily. I personally drink it after sex, and I also drink Target every 2 days, just to know that I'm more regularly flushing out the back or my urinary tract. So definitely recommend, seeing how it goes in that first week, 2 weeks of the products. My team is more than happy to kind of see what works best for you and your regimen. So definitely reach out to us if you feel like you could use a little bit more Target, and we can certainly, set you up with more Target if you need to be taking it a little bit more regularly.
Great. And that's actually a perfect segue to our next question for Spencer. What if I'm not sexually active? Do I still need Uqora?
Uqora is definitely beneficial if you're not sexually active, and is not just meant for the sexually active. There are a lot of things that can impact urinary health that range from menopause to other activities to pregnancy and other hormonal changes. And the link between urinary health and sex has long been understood, and it's definitely a factor, but it's not the only factor. And Uqora's products are designed to protect the urinary tract in a more holistic way.
Perfect. Great. So then I guess sort of as a follow-up to the directions, Zoe, we had a few people ask, is there a proper sequence of taking the products? Like, is it better to take them all 3 together at once, or should I space them out throughout the day?
Yeah, so this kind of comes back to what works best for you. We have a lot of people who will take other vitamins in the morning. I know a lot of people typically will take, their multivitamin in the morning with breakfast or lunch. Some people like taking their vitamins or their supplements on an empty stomach, and it really is just kind of what works best for you. The capsule products you can certainly take at the same time. So both the control and the promote, you can take to the 2 capsules of control and the 1 capsule of promote at the same time. Target's going to be, like Spencer said, because it gets to work, right away and works upon urination. It's going to be really helpful to take after those more vulnerable moments. And it's going to be really helpful if you're taking it alongside the other products as well. So if you're taking Target more regularly every 2 days, then I would recommend just taking it with the control and the promote, just to kind of, do it earlier in the day so that you don't forget. And then as well as after anything like intercourse.
And then sort of a follow-up to that, is it better to take the products with food, or is on an empty stomach okay?
Yeah, so I personally take all my vitamins with a meal, and that's what works best for me. However, my grandmother also takes the products as well, and she takes everything on an empty stomach. So it's really up to you. For some people, you know, they really want to make sure that for digestion's sake that they're able to, you know, have a more settled stomach and take the products with food. But otherwise, if you feel like that's not an issue for you, then you can certainly take it on an empty stomach.
Good to know. All right, the next question is for Spencer. Can you take Uqora if you are pregnant or breastfeeding?
Yeah, we get this question a lot. And as with most ingredients and different things, sometimes they're not specifically studied in pregnant women. There is no evidence for concern of any safety concerns for the ingredients in Uqora's products while breastfeeding or pregnant. However, we always recommend that you speak with your doctor about you know, your particular diet and what's right for you, and defer to them for, you know, if they're comfortable with taking our products. I did want to pause just for a second and address a few questions that just came in. One of which is about the vitamin D in control, which I didn't address in my initial control overview, but the vitamin D is included to strengthen the bladder wall by strengthening the space between the cells so that it's more difficult to penetrate. And she asked if it's okay to take additional vitamin D supplements. We have 1,500 IU of vitamin D in Uqora Control per day. The maximum is 4,000 per day of the recommended amount. About 42% of women in the United States are vitamin D deficient. Taking 1,500 IU per day on supplementation will make sure that you do not have any deficiency. It's not necessary to take additional dosage beyond that range. But it is safe to do so up to 4,000 IU per day.
Thanks, Spencer. The next couple of questions are for you, Spencer. So the next one, some people had some questions just about will Uqora affect blood sugar?
Yeah, and I saw there's another question that came in on this as well. Uqora does not contain sugars like glucose or fructose, sugars that are metabolized quickly and affect blood sugar. Uqora does contain D-mannose, so both target and control contain D-mannose, which is a type of carbohydrate, but it's not significantly metabolized for energy like other carbohydrates. So by both having a relatively small amount of this compound and most of it is excreted in the urine, unmetabolized, it should have a negligible effect on blood sugar in a person.
Great. Then the next question for you, Spencer, is someone asked, what do you recommend if you self-cath?
Yeah, for those that self-catheterize either daily or periodically, we do recommend drinking Target following self-catheterization and also taking control daily. Taking Target after self-catheterization will make sure that you're flushing the urinary tract following any kind of introduction of the catheter, and you're taking control on a daily basis to help reduce biofilm.
All right. And then our last question for Zoe. Some people are just wondering, what is some tips or what's the best way to stay consistent?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite things to talk about because I think there are so many different ways to help keep yourself accountable. One way that I know one of our customers reminds herself is to write it down on her calendar. She really has her whole life on her calendar. It lives in her kitchen. She's sent me a picture of it before, and she makes sure that she checks off her Uqora. She leaves a little note that says that she's taken it. That's something that's really helpful for her. A lot of people set reminders on their phones, placing it next to your toothbrush in your bathroom, or for me, it's placing it next to my coffee machine. That's what works best for me. Anything that you can really do to set yourself up for success, we want to also be there for you. So, reaching out to our team, we've got plenty of tips and tricks. Everybody I know has on my team has their own way of remembering to take the products, and we're always happy to help kind of brainstorm with you. And I know that we also hear from some of our customers that their partner even holds them accountable. Did you take your Uqora today? Hearing it from somebody else can be something that's really helpful as well. So you feel like you're also not alone. So I definitely recommend either reaching out to us if you need some helpful tips or tricks, or feel free to brainstorm with us. We can absolutely help.
All right, and before we wrap our rapid fire Q&A, we did have one more write-in question that I feel is worth shouting out right now. So Spencer, if you don't mind, can you sort of go back and explain a little bit more about the acid in Target, and does that affect the bladder?
Sure, yeah. Target does contain some acidic compounds like citric acid, for example. So when you mix the solution in water, the pH will be fairly acidic. However, when you consume that, due to some complicated metabolic processes in the body that are specific to citric acid and acetic acid and citrate salts like potassium citrate that are not the same for the majority of acids, they actually alkalize the urine. So because of their metabolic process, they actually take protons out of the blood and make the urine thereby less acidic, which is counterintuitive because the drink itself is acidic, but it will have an alkalizing effect on the urine in the bladder.
Okay, that makes sense. And then I keep saying one last question, but this really is the last question. We had a few people write this in, so definitely want to address this while we're all here. In terms of potential reactions to the products, two people have mentioned that you're experiencing loose stool. Is that common? And can you kind of explain why that might be happening?
Yeah, that's a kind of anecdotal feedback that we've heard in the past. It is specific to D-mannose, which is one of the ingredients in Target and in Control. And especially when taken at high doses, if you're going to be drinking, say, multiple packets of or Target per day, it anecdotally has caused upset stomach. And that's been reported in different surveys anecdotally, though some of the clinical research. And the estimates come out to be a little under 10% of people, around 8%, experience some upset stomach or gastrointestinal discomfort when drinking D-mannose at higher concentrations.
All right. So if you are experiencing that, definitely feel free to reach out to us, definitely at our support email, and we can, follow up with some additional tips to help remedy that. But great, we're nearing our time. So thank you everyone for all these fabulous questions. We hope this was helpful. Before we go, I definitely just wanted to quickly shout out some of our additional resources here at Uqora aside from just our products. We are a community here and we're here to support you on your journey every step of the way. So we have a few different ways of doing that. If you haven't checked it out already, I highly recommend on our website, we have our UTI Learning Center, which is essentially essentially just a hub of a bunch of research-backed articles from doctors and experts. We also have our Good Doc Club on our website, which is a customer-nominated list of healthcare practitioners. So if you're looking for a specialist or someone near you, it's a great resource. And then lastly, we have the Uqora Collective, which is our private Facebook group, and it's a community forum just to connect with other people, not even necessarily all Uqora customers, just to share your story with urinary health and know that you're not alone in this. So thank you again, everyone, for showing up and tuning in. After this wraps, we will be emailing you all afterward with a link to this so you can watch it again. We'll also include links to all those resources I just listed out. And then, of course, we didn't get to every question or every write-in question in this, so we'll definitely follow up with you personally if we didn't answer it already. And like we said, you can always reach out to us at support@uqora.com, and we're excited to be on this journey with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.